بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق.
Now think about that. The Prophet ﷺ was like that before he became a prophet. Yeah, one of the contemporary scholars, Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Tarifi, Hafidhullah, he mentioned a very interesting point. He said, you know, people that want to do da'wah, it is not befitting for them to have bad character. Look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah perfected his character before he bestowed upon him revelation. And he raised him up to this level, gave him good character, and then he gave him, if you like, that jewel in the crown of revelation. Showing us, if you like, from another perspective, that those that want to follow the path of the Prophet ﷺ in calling others to Islam, look at your character. Now the other thing, I was reflecting about the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ. The best of you are those who are best to their wives. And I was thinking, how comes? From one perspective, you can say obviously the Prophet was encouraging every single believing man that look, behave well with your wife. But from another perspective, it is as if he is saying that if you want to know if you are a person of good character, then just look at how you treat your wife. There is a good indication as to what your real character is like. Because just like that person we mentioned on the street corner, he can't do much to you. In a very similar way, Allah bestowed this position to the man to be the caretaker of the woman. He has a position above her, which means that she is always, if you like, in a more vulnerable position compared to you. And so you have this power above her. So easy it is for you to abuse that power, because this person can't do much to you. But subhanallah, if you were to control your behavior and to show to this person, who really can't do much if you were to wrong them, good character, then truly khayrukum, then truly you are the best of all people. And you know, good character, we speak about it so little, but it's there in the life of the Prophet ﷺ all the way through, even before he becomes a prophet. Now, another point to mention is that, you know, a clever person of intelligence, a person who is eloquent with their words, you know, they can put together a very good argument. You want to debate with someone, you know, you can put together a very good argument, and that person could be taken, you know, if you like, dumbfounded. Oh, I don't know what to reply to this. His argument is so well constructed. But reflect on this. If that person was seen to be a liar, seen to be somebody who was not genuine, not compassionate towards other people, even though that other person was defeated in the argument or was given an argument that he can't argue with back, he still wouldn't believe him. He still wouldn't trust him. Isn't that true? That still something would be there that, you know, I can't accept what he's saying. Is this something true, Sheikh? Have you seen this yourself? That people, Allah made the hearts of people connect with another heart based on the way they behave towards them. They don't have to say anything, you know. And in our times, you know, good character is something that is lost across the board, especially in non-Muslim communities, especially in the city. I mean, if you travel on the underground, you know, it's very rare to see that an old lady comes onto the train and somebody jumps out of their seat, gives them their seat. Now the person who does, the people around them, they really like, wow, you know, this guy, fantastic, you know, he's got good character. To be honest, that's just an indication that something that somebody should do just, you know, out of common courtesy, come naturally, has become something strange. You know, good character is something that people honestly have just fallen away from. But the Prophet ﷺ came in order to perfect character. Character with Allah Jalla wa Ala, character with other people. And so just one point to take home is reflect how you are with the people closest to you. Reflect upon your character. How are you with your words? Do you use the most kindest words with your wives, with your family members? Or is it the case that you save them for people outside the home, like your friends, or maybe when you're in a gathering? Because that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign of your character. And work on it. Work on it, for it's a jihad like everything else. Perfecting your character, and reflect about the beautiful character of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so we mentioned the wahi, the revelation that came, the words of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Now, you know, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, she took a very unique place in the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. Nobody could touch that. The Prophet ﷺ was so loyal to her. In a time where it was common practice to marry more than one woman, he remained married to her and never married anybody else for the duration of her blessed life. Radiallahu ta'ala anha. And one of the reasons is because, you know, at that time the Prophet ﷺ was the most vulnerable he has ever been. But she came to his aid. She never asked any questions. She never said to him to repeat himself. She just consoled him with beautiful words, and more to the point, she stood by his side. Now that teaches us that, you know, every single one of us goes through hardship in life, challenges. And sometimes those challenges reduce us down to a very vulnerable state. Now the person who comes to us at that moment in time and says, he takes us by the hand and says, you know, it's going to be fine. It's okay. I'm here with you. You never forget that person. That person becomes the dearest person to you. And that relationship, that bond stays with you for the rest of your life. And that's exactly what happened to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. And how she became from the finest of all women. You know, in a hadith, the Prophet mentioned that once Khadija was about to come to the house, and Jibreel came to me, and he said that Khadija radiallahu ta'ala is about to come. She's about to bring some vessels of food. And I wanted to tell you that Allah sends His salam to her. And I send my salam to her. And that she is from the people of paradise. And that Allah has made for her a house hollowed out from pearls or from gold. Subhanallah al-Azim. I mean, just her as a figure alone. So many qualities, so much wisdom. And how she supported the Prophet ﷺ through thick and thin. This was just the beginning. There was so much more that was to come the Prophet's way. And she was there by his side, showing us, you know, if you like, the best role model for a wife. Let's not speak about the husband, but just the wife. Women, our sisters, should read about her life. Look at how she stood by her husband's side, and she supported him financially, emotionally, whichever way she could. She was there for the Prophet ﷺ. And later on, after she passed away and the Prophet married other women, he would sing her praises, you know, and many of them would become very jealous about that. But he couldn't help it. And even the sister of Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was in Mecca and then she moved to Medina later on. And when the Prophet ﷺ heard about her coming, he became very, very happy. You know, his face lit up. She's just the sister of Khadija, but just any remembrance about Khadija would bring so much joy to the Prophet ﷺ. You know, and we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah grants us a place in Jannah just to meet the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, just to see what they were like, and to perhaps ask them how they were with the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah make us of the inhabitants of Jannah. Okay, so the last few points. Now, Waraqa ibn Nawfal, he accepted Islam. He was a Muslim. But the amazing thing is all he knew about Islam was this story of how Jibreel came to the Prophet ﷺ and revealed to him these verses of Quran. For only a few days later he passed away. No commandments had come down. Nothing was legislated, not salah, not zakah, nothing whatsoever. So what did he practice of Islam? Nothing. But the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith reported by Al-Hakim al-Mustadrak that do not revile or curse or abuse Waraqa bin Nawfal, for indeed he is in a garden or two gardens. And in another narration he said, I've seen Waraqa bin Nawfal swimming in a river in paradise. Now there's a very deep point here. He never practiced anything of Islam, but at the same time there was nothing of Islam to practice, right? Which alludes to a very important principle in this great deen, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ, that you fear Allah as best as you can, meaning Allah will hold you to account for what you are able to do. What you can do, the brother next to you might not be able to do. Maybe the other brother can do more than you. However, Allah will hold you accountable for what you can do, what is in your means to do. More to the point, to go to the very limit of what you can do. Don't look at it the other way. Let me just do just the basic, just the lowest common denominator. No. I can do Qiyamul Layl. It's possible for me. I can fast Monday and Thursday. To be honest, it's possible for me. I don't have an illness that's holding me back. Okay, so Allah Jalla wa Ala will hold you to account, or you'll be judged based on what you can do. The other lesson is that Waraq ibn Nawfal, he said a statement indicating his ikhlas. He said, woe to me, only that I was alive when your people will expel you. For if I was, I would be by your side, helping you every step of the way. You see, what he was saying is that I desire to do good deeds. Whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's in the future. Now when the Prophet came to him, what did he think? He thought of an opportunity to show his sincerity to Allah Jalla wa Ala. That those words indicated that he has such a strong intention, such a profound, if you like, resolve and determination that I want to do good deeds in every way possible. And in fact, I'm thinking about opportunities, ways in which I can do those good deeds. Thinking about a time that may come in many years. But when it comes, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the one to do the good deed at that time. And subhanallah, how Allah Jalla wa Ala rewarded him based on his intention. That he was given so much honor and reward because of his intention. That is all that it was. A few years ago, there was a very rich Arab from Saudi Arabia. He retired and he was a billionaire. Okay, so what he said to himself is that I have so much wealth, let me give it fi sabilillah. And he gave billions of pounds fi sabilillah. Now, most of us, maybe all of us in fact, don't have that sort of money, may never be able to even acquire that sort of money. But a question, what if you could have that sort of money? Would you want to do the same thing? See, the amazing thing is, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَىٰ فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِدُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أَوْ امْرَأَةٍ يَنْكِحُهَا فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. What a profound statement of the Prophet ﷺ, that actions are based on intentions. Allah will give you based on just your intention. That if you intended, if I had that money, by Allah, I would give it. See, an intention is the real intention. That, okay, I just need to get this. Once I have it, I'm going to do it. A real resolve and determination. Look at the mercy of Allah. He is, Jalla wa Ala, ready to give you the reward of something that you cannot even do. Why? Because you desire to do it. And this is one of the, if you like, lessons we learn from Waraq ibn Nawfal, radiyallahu ta'ala an, that he showed us what real sincerity is. So we've taken a long time. I'm very sorry. Barakallahu feekum. Inshallah, we'll end here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Again, if the Sheikh doesn't mind, we can take questions. Otherwise, we can finish. No problem, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. If any of the brothers have questions, what about the sisters? Will they be able to give?
Any questions, inshallah, brothers can ask, directly, sisters can ask, why don't we today, why they should, inshallah.
Understand.
Within the talk you mentioned was it 6 ways that Wahi came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Yes.
I think
there was one missing, yeah?
5 of them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the brothers, the answer. So what's the 6th way? The first is the true dream. The second is Jibreel comes to Prophet in the form of a man. The third is that he blows into his heart. The fourth is the ring of a bell. The fifth is that he comes to him in his angelic form. What's the last way?
Salah.
The last one I talks directly too.
Yes, Allah Jalla wa Ala spoke to the Prophet directly in that epic night journey. That's the 6th way that Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah mentioned. Okay, any other questions or comments from the brothers?
You mentioned Prophet Sallallahu Jabal Nur.
Uh-huh.
Jabal Nur you mentioned?
I didn't mention the name of the mountain to you, because.
Jabal Nur. Do you think he got his first wahi in Jabal Nur?
Do you think?
His first wahi?
Yeah, this is where the whole incident took place, when he was in the cave of Hira. As mentioned, is very famous. I don't know if I understood the question, but Khair will come back. Father Sir.
Salam alaikum.
Example.
Do the Prophet Muhammad sallam, was he born as a prophet, or was he lucky to be a prophet, or was he intentionally creating to be a prophet? Because he became a prophet at the age of 40. So was he born to be a prophet, or was he lucky to be a prophet?
Okay, there's 2 questions there basically, which is one, did Allah Jalla wa Ala will for him to be a prophet? Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing happens except that Allah wills it. Was the Prophet personally looking to become prophet? The whole story, it points towards him being totally shocked and surprised at the whole experience, which shows that he never even thought about it, let alone, as the Orientalists claim, that he was preparing, for 40 years. Yeah, so he never told anyone. Then when he becomes 40, all of a sudden, yeah, I'm a prophet now, so this is the revelation. So he never intended that. He never obviously planned for that. And this is something that was unknown to him. So there was another brother, sorry, at the back. We didn't get. Father. My name is Imtiaz.
Yesterday, 2-3 days before, I was discussing about my friends about Revelation, and he raised this question about Wahi, and I told him about the whole process about still lighting. But he told me the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What do you think about? He took some part of in the Quran mentioned some stories about the Jesus life and some Moses life and some other things. He did not clearly describe, but he gives me sign and clue like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he took some stories from different books.
Yeah, no problem,
and he
inshallah.
compiled some books which is called.
We'll address that, inshallah.
So, do you think,
Okay.
I don't know, I'm strongly disagree.
Of course you disagree. No one's directing you that you disagree. But just tell us, how much time do you have? I don't want to take too much time. You sure? Okay. Okay, this is, if you like, a very, very, very old claim that the Prophet ﷺ, Barakallahu feekum, no problem, inshallah. I'll do it. That Prophet ﷺ, he compiled the Quran by finding parts of the Torah, parts of the Injil, and maybe other stories from the Sabians, etc. And then somehow he gathered them together. And one of the narrations that they rely on is that the Prophet, as a young boy, he visited Sham, and he met a monk called Bahira, who was a learned person, and then he learnt some things from him, and then possibly he went on another journey and he learned some other things, and basically revelation, it's just a figment of his imagination, or that he compiled it by taking sources from either the Bible or the Torah. Like I said, it's a very old claim. But the thing is, the Prophet ﷺ was known to be a Sadiq al-Amin by his enemies. Yeah? Not by his family, by his enemies. And those Quraysh, they were his worst enemies. And they would stop at nothing to discredit the Prophet ﷺ. They would call him a magician, they would call him a fortune teller, they would call him a poet. But they never said, hang on a minute, we know where you got this from. And those people were the most learned when it came to Arabic. So if they heard something from poetry or something that somebody else had written, they would immediately be able to make a connection. Yeah, that's the one point. That his enemies never even made that claim. And that's very similar to the contention that they raised about the marriage to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, that she was so young. Okay, so you think it's a contention, you think it's a controversial issue. What about his enemies? Did Abu Jahl, his arch enemy, ever say to him, oh yeah, actually, maybe he was dead before that happened. Did any of the others, Abu Sufyan, any of them, they say to him, look at you, you're marrying this young lady. This is something which is wrong. They never said that, showing that this practice was the norm or was not looked down upon. So if you like, that's one angle coming at you. There's so many ways. Look at the Quran, just read the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or if you like the Quran, if you look objectively, the words of the Quran sometimes are very harsh towards the Prophet ﷺ, who they claim is the author. Now, would an author write a book being harsh towards himself? Abasa wa tawalla. He turned away. Speaking about himself. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, in Surah Al-Haqqa as well. That if you don't disseminate this message, لَقَطَعْتَ, we're going to cut you off in your jugular vein. Very harsh. The author would not write about this about himself. So just a reading of the Quran, with a sincere heart, is very obvious that the Prophet ﷺ is not the one who wrote it himself. He's not the author of the Quran. Which leads us to the question, who is then the author of the Quran? Yeah? Where did these words come from? Because this is the trouble for them. The Quran is here. We need to explain where it came from. There's only a number of possibilities. If we start with the Prophet ﷺ and we say clearly it cannot be the Prophet for X, Y, Z, okay, then what's the next possibility? Yeah? Lead them on and they will see that the only reasonable explanation is the one that we offer. It is the words of Allah that came through revelation. Wallahu ta'ala, there's more details, but maybe we'll just stop here so other people can understand.
Quick question. Is there any evidence for who turned Muslim before? Was it either Khadija or her cousin/uncle?
Okay, the brother, I don't know if anybody heard the question properly, but well, the question was, who became Muslim first? Was it Waraq ibn Nawfal or Khadija radiallahu anha? What the scholars of history mentioned is that Khadija radiallahu ta'ala embraced the message from the get-go. Yeah? From the moment the Prophet ﷺ spoke about what happened, she accepted it. So she was the first Muslim, or at least the first woman to accept Islam, if you want to be very technical. And then the second would have been Waraq ibn Nawfal. Yeah, so you could say the first man to accept Islam was Waraq ibn Nawfal, the first woman to accept Islam was Khadija radiallahu anha, and in that way you can reconcile, if you like, between any differences of opinion.
I just need an explanation on that category of Wahayi that has to do with ringing bell.
Yep.
It's just not very clear.
Okay, so basically, Salsalatul Jars, which is the Arabic term that is mentioned in a hadith, is translated as the ringing of a bell. Now what it means is that Jibreel will come to the Prophet ﷺ, and when he would speak, meaning when he would relate to him the revelation, most probably the Quran, because another point is that revelation comprises of more than just the Quran. Yeah? Revelation comprises of more than just the Quran. Like, for example, when the Prophet went on his night journey and he found himself in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah revealed to him the 5 daily prayers, or was 50 and they went to 5. That's revelation. Yeah? A hadith the statements of the Prophet ﷺ that he said regarding the religion, that is also considered to be wahi. Yeah? لا ينطق عن الهوى, that he doesn't speak of his own whim or desire. So revelation encompasses much more than the Quran. So when we say revelation, just bear that in mind. So going back to the ring of a bell, so when Jibreel would come and relate revelation to him, the sound would be like the ring of a bell, meaning it would be so loud like a clanging of a bell. Now when that noise would subside, and that, if you like, moment would then calm, then he would remember what those words were, or he'd begin to then understand what those words were. Yeah, so this is one, this is the way that Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah mentioned, I think, in Zad al-Ma'ad. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Does that make it clear? Yeah. Maybe we'll take from sisters otherwise. So we're preferring the brothers. Okay, what is your opinion of someone who intends to do many great deeds but his inability of doing it or his laziness gets in the way? Is this rewarded for his intending to do good deeds? The main point to remember is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ready to reward any person, any believer, ready to reward, generous with his reward. No one can sit and say you will not be rewarded if somebody does a good deed. But what we know is that the reward is dependent upon the intention. An intention is of levels, okay? A strong, intention, a firm resolve that tomorrow is Monday, I'm going to fast, definitely has consequences. Of the consequences is a plan. Yeah. So you say, I'm going to wake up this time for suhoor, I'm going to eat this much, and then, I'm going to be hungry at that time, maybe I should busy myself so I don't think about food too much. The person is thinking, planning. This is just, we all know this, but we forget about it when we think about doing good deeds. But wallahi, I think it's the same. Yeah, you can know how sincere you are by just looking at, okay, well, I said I'm going to, read Quran today, but I've just told my friend I'm going to meet him go out for a meal, and then it's going to be Maghrib, and then after that I'm going to be busy. So it seems like I'm not going to read Quran. So that's an indication that, to be honest, you wasn't very sincere, or you wasn't very, resolved in your intention. So when the sister mentioned that out of laziness, yeah, it's possible somebody becomes lazy after being, very eager to do good deeds, isn't it? Especially if something that you're going to do later on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ready to reward. Yeah? The key is not to ask about, okay, well, how much reward, or will he not? No. Do your utmost. Do your utmost. Whenever you can, just be opportunistic. Be opportunistic. Yeah? Like a businessman. When people think about money, they become very opportunistic. I used to work in a pharmacy, and the guy who owned it was a very rich Hindu guy. And in my few times when I met him, I could see so clearly that he thinks about money all the time. He's thinking about ways of making money all the time. Ways that didn't even think that was possible. So he bought this pharmacy, and it was inside what they call a polyclinic, which is has many doctors. Fantastic location. Now, by doing that, he put another business, which was a pharmacy of boots, out of the picture, basically. Now, he had already planned that when I open this pharmacy, the business is going to go from this one. But the thing is, the contract I have with this pharmacy means I have to open it for 100 hours, a lot of hours in a week. But I know that once I put that business out, they will want to sell their business. So what I'll do, I'll buy that business, and then I'll move the contract to my pharmacy, and then I'll be able to reduce the hours and make even more money. Planning, opportunistically. And subhanAllah, when Allah subhanAllah spoke about reward, He spoke about it in words that relate to money, jaza, wage. We say reward, but jaza actually means wage. That pay you. Yeah? Meaning, think about good deeds like you think about earning money. Look for the ways that you can make that reward for yourself. Be very eager to do good deeds. Allah Jalla wa Ala reward us for the little that we do. Yes, sir.
How far can Rasulullah instances to see the
So I didn't.
How far down? How many generations down in Sayyidina Ibrahim?
Allah Ta'ala alam. The number in the lineage, I don't know, to be honest. Maybe I'll check that up inshallah next time we can meet and discuss it. Somebody had a question, I said that we'll come back to it. Is that yourself? Yourself? Fadlan. Okay, so the question is, how comes in the Quran there's a lot of repetition? There's actually a theory that it's not actually repetition. That a person who understands Arabic, and has a sound understanding of the Quran, that when he reads it, sometimes the words may are the same. They are the same, no doubt, as they are in other places. But the context is different. So the reading there has, if you like, a different angle, a different meaning, a different perspective. So in reality, the person who understands or knows about the Quran, when he reads it, it's not like Allah said this and He said exactly the same thing. Like the story of Adam alayhi salam. Different contexts. Like in Surah Al-Kahf, we read Surah Kahf. We're supposed to read Surah Kahf every Friday. And Surah Kahf, is comprised of 4 stories. The companions of the garden, and then the companions of the cave, and then Dhul Qarnayn. And all of these stories are about different tests and tribulations. Different tests. The story of Musa alayhi salam, the test of knowledge. The story of the garden, the test of luxury, hubb ad-dunya. Different tests. So now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right in the middle, placed the story of Adam alayhi salam, seems unrelated, there is a lesson that many tests, many tribulations, the one who's pulling the strings to all of this is that shaitan, the one who deceived Adam alayhi salam. Remember that, your father, the Prophet who was deceived by shaitan, he will also be able to deceive you. So take refuge in Allah, come closer to Allah and seek refuge in Him. So the story, if you like, may seem the same, but it's a different reading. The Quran is deep. These are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I hope that answers the question to some extent. Shall we conclude?
There's one more that I just put on the table.
Oh yes, sorry. Did you want to go before the sister, or?
No.
No, but do you want to go before the sister, or did you?
it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, I have given da'wah to an atheist. They still do not believe. Some of them don't want to debate. What should I do? Maybe we have already someone who is an expert in da'wah, so maybe the Imam could answer this question. No, I think you're the most appropriate person to answer that question. Maybe at the end, if you want to, you can jump. Fadl.
Okay, Sheikh, you mentioned that Prophet said that he saw Raqabna fal-Sunni Jannah. Is he saying like really, or in future, in this place? Second question is, if somebody wants to give his gift, and you see that this gift is very expensive,
Yeah.
for example, you want to buy for your wife or something like that, tell him, please, just buy for me something cheaper, because I don't feel comfortable to wear an expensive one, and the rest, give it fi sabilillah. And he didn't do it. You will get reward for this or
Like we said, it's your intention, akhi. It's your intention, and especially if the action that is dependent is not related to you, then inshallah you'll get rewarded. If you encourage someone to do khair and then, they didn't do it, you'll still be rewarded. If they did it, would you get more reward? This is the question. Yeah, this is the question. And as the Prophet said, that whoever initiates a good deed will receive a share of that deed without that other person being deprived of it. So perhaps we can say, Wallahu ta'ala alam, that you would get more reward if they did it. Yeah, but let's not say that, oh, you may not be rewarded. Inshallah. So we'll end here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بارك الله فيكم.